What I do promise you is that I will lead our fight, and I will enforce fairness in our struggle, and I will ensure honesty.
President Jimmy Carter was best known for his post-presidency legacy, but public service was always a part of his upbringing. James Earl Carter Jr., also known as Jimmy, was born on October 1, 1924 in Plains, Georgia. Although his family was considered middle class, he was raised on a family farm without electricity or running water.
The fact that I was a hunter and a fisherman and an outdoors person from my earliest life, I think set the stage for my future interest when I became a public official.
Carter grew up in the rigidly segregated South of the 1920s and 30s. From a young age, his mother, Bessie Lillian Gordy Carter, influenced Carter's thinking on civil and human rights. As a nurse, she turned their home to assist both blacks and whites. In 1943, Carter enrolled in the U.S. Naval Academy, graduating near the top of his class. Shortly after graduation, Carter married Eleanor Rosalind Smith, a close friend of his sister Ruth. They would go on to have 4 children together. In 1953, Carter's father passed away from cancer, causing Carter to resign from the Navy. Carter and his wife returned to take care of the family farm, and he became an active member of the community. He served as a deacon and Sunday school teacher in the Plains Baptist Church before being elected to 2 terms in the Georgia State Senate. When Carter became governor in 1971, he delivered an 8-minute inaugural address that became one of his most important speeches.
That the time for racial discrimination is over.
Although Carter was seen as a leading figure in the South, he was still largely unknown on the national stage. This would become an advantage for Carter as he began to pursue the White House.
I had no prior knowledge of the Watergate break-in.
After Watergate and the other Nixon administration scandals, Carter marketed himself as a simple peanut farmer from Georgia, not to mention a Democrat who promised to bring an open and honest leadership. In 1977, Carter squeaked out a narrow victory and won the election. Carter's one-term presidency is remembered for the events that overwhelmed it: the high unemployment rate, terrible inflation, a stagnant economy, the energy crisis of 1979. But the most serious crisis of Carter's presidency involved Iran. In 1979, an Iranian mob took control of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 American hostages.
Since the hostages were put under lock and key.
It was the beginning of a 444-day ordeal, played out daily on TV. Even though Carter negotiated their releases shortly before leaving office, the crisis ultimately doomed his presidency. Carter supporters point to a number of successes during his presidency. He made human rights a central theme of his foreign policy. In 1978, he mediated a peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, known as the Camp David Accords. Carter also pushed through controversial treaties with Panama and Soviet Russia. Ronald Reagan defeated Carter in 1980. In a farewell address, Carter suggested that although he had lost an election, he was not finished with community service.
I believe with all my heart that America must always stand for these basic human rights at home and abroad. That is both our history and our destiny.
In his first act as a former president, Carter flew to a U.S. airbase in Germany to greet the American hostages who were returning from Iran. Carter led an active life upon leaving the White House. He set up the Carter Center with his wife in 1982 as a base for advancing human rights. The couple also spent time building homes for Habitat for Humanity. Carter became an unofficial roving ambassador, monitoring elections, mediating disputes, and promoting human rights and democracy. In 2002, Carter won the Nobel Peace Prize for his work at the Carter Center. The 39th president was diagnosed with cancer in August 2015.
I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence, and I'll be prepared for anything that comes.